Welcome back, my dear students. In this video, we will be establishing some more examples of inner product spaces. So, example 3, the space L2 is a Hilbert space with inner product defined by inner product xy should be equal to summation j is equal to 1 to infinity theta j eta j conjugate. So L2 consisting of set of all sequence having summation j is equal to 1 to infinity modulus of theta j square bounded. Now using that we can define this inner product and we have to prove that it's an inner product space and it's a Hilbert space as well. So excluding this L2, all other LP spaces are actually not inner product spaces in general, which we will be discussing later. So let's move on to establish this as an inner product space. So in order to prove that this is an inner product space, we have to prove three properties. For that, consider x is equal to sequence theta j, y is equal to sequence eta j, z is equal to sequence gamma j, be three elements which belongs to L2. Okay, so the first property IP1 is actually inner product x plus y comma z. So as we have already told you, inner product x plus y is we are actually in terms of x plus y the elements is actually theta j plus eta j, this sequence. So here the definition is actually taking the components of x and taking the components of y and multiplying the conjugate of the corresponding component of y with the component of x. That's the process we are doing. Here the components of x is actually theta j plus eta j. So this is actually equal to summation j is equal to 1 to infinity theta j plus eta j times component of z conjugate gamma j conjugate, which is by elementary properties which can be written as summation j is equal to 1 to infinity theta j gamma j conjugate plus eta j gamma j conjugate. So which should be equal to summation j is equal to 1 to infinity theta j gamma j conjugate plus summation j is equal to 1 to infinity eta j gamma j conjugate, which can be done because the sum is actually bounded. So this is by definition is inner product xz. The second part by definition is inner product yz. So the first property is being satisfied. Moving on to the second property. So the second property is actually IP2 is inner product alpha x y. Alpha x is actually contains sequence alpha theta j. So this is actually summation j is equal to 1 to infinity alpha theta j times gamma j conjugate. So alpha is taken to be outside, which should be equal to alpha times summation j is equal to 1 to infinity theta j gamma j conjugate, which should be equal to alpha times inner product xy. So the second property also being satisfied. Moving on to the third property, inner product xy we know is summation j is equal to 1 to infinity theta j eta j conjugate. Inner product yx conjugate should be equal to summation j is equal to 1 to infinity eta j theta j conjugate the whole conjugate, which can be written as summation j is equal to 1 to infinity eta j conjugate times theta j conjugate the whole conjugate, which is equal to summation j is equal to 1 to infinity eta j conjugate times theta j. A conjugate, the whole conjugate is A itself. So summation j is equal to 1 to infinity theta j times eta j conjugate, which is actually inner product xy. So inner product yx conjugate should be equal to inner product xy. So the third property also being satisfied. Now moving on to the fourth property. So IP4 inner product xx, which by definition is summation j is equal to 1 to infinity theta j conjugate, which is equal to summation j is equal to 1 to infinity modulus of theta j square. We know that modulus of theta j square is always positive. So this is actually sum of positive numbers, which is actually greater than 0. Now inner product xx is equal to 0 if and only if inner product xx is summation j is equal to 1 to infinity modulus of theta j the whole square is equal to 0, which is 0. These are sum of positive numbers. This sum is actually 0 means each of the positive numbers should be equal to 0. So which means modulus of theta j should be equal to 0, which implies x should be equal to, which means each of the components should be equal to 0, which means x is equal to 0. When x is equal to 0, this is 0, its sum is 0, which means this inner product xx should be equal to 0. Since this is the sum of positive numbers, it is equal to 0 means each of the components should be equal to 0. That's why this property has been established. Okay. So the fourth property has been established, which means that L2 using our inner product is actually an inner product space. Okay. Now we have to prove that it is a Hilbert space. Okay. Before getting into that, let's say something about this product as well. So we have defined our inner product to be summation j is equal to 1 to infinity theta j eta j conjugate. We know that this sum is actually defined, and this is actually a finite sum, which means that its sum is actually a finite number which can be obtained by Cauchy-Schwarz inequality in the case of the space. So only when this is actually a number, a finite number, this sum is actually existing. Otherwise, this definition is immaterial. So please understand that before getting into all other details, this sum should always be a finite number, which can be easily established using the fact that it satisfies the Cauchy-Schwarz inequality and the individual sum is always bounded because the elements x and y belongs to L2 space. So from that part we can clearly understand that this, which can be less than or equal to summation j is equal to 1 to infinity modulus of theta j square the whole raised to 1 by 2 times summation j is equal to 1 to infinity modulus of theta j square the whole raised to 1 by 2, and each of the individual sum is actually finite because the elements are in L2. So this sum exists only if this sum is actually a finite number, then only this definition has some meaning, and this is actually a finite number as well. And in order to prove that it's a Hilbert space, what we are going to do is we are establishing an associated norm with respect to this inner product space, and that norm is complete. Because of that, this inner product space is also complete because our norm is actually induced by the inner product. We already know the norm x induced by the inner product is actually square root of inner product xx, which is equal to square root of summation j is equal to 1 to infinity modulus of theta j square, or summation j is equal to 1 to infinity modulus of theta j square the whole raised to 1 by 2, which is the usual norm in L2 space. We have already established in 1.5.4 the fact that L2 space using this norm is actually complete. Okay, please refer that. We have already discussed that. So this norm is induced by this inner product. So this is complete mean our inner product space is actually complete, which means our space is actually a Hilbert space. So we have clearly established that this is actually a Hilbert space. A small note on this. This was the first prototype of the proposed Hilbert space, which was defined by Hilbert. In 1912, while studying the integral equation, to fit the solutions of the integral equations on a particular space, he defined this class of spaces. Okay, so the theoretical background of this class of spaces was attained much later, but the introductory nature of these spaces was firstly consumed by the Hilbert, the great Hilbert. So we have established that our space L2 is actually complete. Now what about the general spaces LP? Can you say something about the LP space as well? So LP is when P not equal to 2 is not an inner product space. So which means that except L2, all other LP spaces are actually not inner product spaces. And these are the classic examples of normed spaces which are not inner product spaces. We have discussed that every inner product spaces are actually normed spaces. And we have also given insight that every normed spaces need not be an inner product space, because every norm which is induced by the inner product should satisfy what? The parallelogram inequality. Now, there may be spaces in which the parallelogram inequality does not satisfy. So there may be norms in which the parallelogram inequality does not satisfy, which means that norms cannot be induced by a particular inner product space. So such spaces may not be in general inner product space itself. So there may exist inner product spaces which are not, sorry, there may exist normed spaces which are actually not inner product spaces. The classic example is LP when P not equal to 2. So in order to establish that this is not an inner product space, what we are going to do is we are choosing an arbitrary elements x and y in LP, and we will prove that it does not satisfy the parallelogram inequality, because every norm which is induced by an inner product should satisfy the parallelogram inequality. So if at all there exists such a norm which is not defined in terms of an inner product, it should not be satisfying the parallelogram inequality. So in such spaces, the norm is not established with respect to an inner product space. So such inner product spaces does not exist. So what we are going to do is we are choosing LP where P not equal to 2 and choosing two elements x and y in LP, and we are establishing that it does not satisfy the parallelogram inequality. That's what we are going to do. So consider LP where P not equal to 2, and remember that here norm x is actually summation j is equal to 1 to infinity modulus of theta j raised to P the whole raised to 1 by P. Okay. So take an element x is equal to 1 1 0, 0, etc. And y is equal to 1, minus 1, 0, 0, etc. These are two elements. Here x plus y should be equal to, adding the component wise, which is equal to 2, 0, 0, 0, etc. And x minus y should be equal to 1 minus 1 is 0, 0, 2, 0, 0, etc. Okay. So we will prove that when p not equal to 2, these elements does not satisfy the parallelogram inequality. So for that we have to find norm x. So norm x should be equal to summation j is equal to 1 to infinity modulus of theta j the whole raised to p the whole raised to 1 by p. Now this is equal to, this is actually summation j is equal to 1 to infinity. This is actually, we do not need actually up to infinity, we only need up to 2 because all other terms are 0. So 0 raised to p is always 0. So this is 1 raised to p the whole raised to 1 by p. So which is actually 1 plus 1 the whole raised to 1 by p. So this is actually 2 raised to 1 by p. Okay. Similarly, norm y should be equal to summation j is equal to 1 to infinity modulus of theta j the whole raised to p the whole raised to 1 by p. Here also the first only two components is needed. The first component's modulus is 1. The second component's modulus is also 1. The whole raised to 1 by p is 1 raised to 1 by p, 1 raised to p plus 1 raised to p, which is actually 1 plus 1. So which the sum should be always equal to 2. So this is also summation j is equal to 1 to 2, actually 1 raised to p the whole raised to 1 by p. Because if we take the modulus of 1 and minus 1, which is always 1, and we do not need up to infinity because after the second term all other terms are 0. So this is also equal to 2 raised to 1 by p. Okay. Now moving on, consider x plus y, norm of x plus y. So norm of x plus y, we only need take the power of 2 raised to p, all other elements are 0, which is summation j is equal to 1 to infinity modulus of theta j raised to p the whole raised to 1 by p. So here only the non-zero elements is the first component 2, so which is equal to 2 raised to p the whole raised to 1 by p, which is actually equal to 2. Similarly, norm of x minus y also contains only the non-zero element is 2, all the elements are 0, so which also should be equal to 2 raised to p the whole raised to 1 by p, which is equal to 2. Okay. Now if you add, the parallelogram inequality is norm of x minus y the whole square plus norm of x plus y the whole square should be equal to 2 times norm x square plus norm y square. Okay, here norm of x minus y is 2, norm of x plus y is 2, whole square is 4 plus 4 is equal to 2 times 2 raised to 1 by p the whole square is 2 raised to 2 by p plus 2 raised to 2 by p. Okay, so this is equal to 4 plus 4 is 8. 8 is equal to, this is 2 times, 2 into 2 times, which is 4 times 2 raised to 2 by p. This equality only holds whenever p is equal to 2. In all other cases, these are not equal to 2. So when p not equal to 2, 8 not equal to 4 times 2 raised to 2 by p. So which means that this parallelogram inequality does not hold. So our space is not actually a normed space, because if it was an inner product space, if it was an inner product space, the corresponding norm should be induced from the inner product space, which means that the corresponding norm should be satisfying the parallelogram inequality. which is not at all satisfying here whenever p not equal to 2. So which means that our space is actually not an inner product space. So which means that it is not an Hilbert space as well. So LP when p not equal to 2 is an example of a Banach space which is not a Hilbert space. So LP when p not equal to 2 is Banach, which means a complete normed space, but not Hilbert, because it does not satisfy parallelogram inequality. Okay, every norm which is induced from the inner product space should be satisfying parallelogram inequality. Okay, so this is the idea of generally characterizing the inner products on LP spaces. So the result is the LP space is when p not equal to 2 is not at all a Hilbert space. It is not even an inner product space. It is an example of an inner product normed space which is actually not an inner product space, or an example of a Banach space which is not a Hilbert space. But L2 is actually a Hilbert space as well. So I hope you understood. Thank you.